Story 1. The Mysterious Guest. Seal worked as a housekeeper at a luxurious motel in Washington, D.C. It was her job to keep the suites pristine for the elite guests who frequented the establishment. Among these guests was a peculiar man known only as Mr. M. He was tall and thin, with an unsettling aura about him. He checked into the top-floor suite and immediately requested that housekeeping not disturb him during his stay. At first, Seal found his request odd, but she respected it. Days turned into weeks, and Mr. M remained an enigma. His suite was never cleaned, but she could occasionally hear strange sounds coming from within. It was as if he was living a life completely separate from the world outside. As the weeks went by, the atmosphere surrounding Mr. M became increasingly ominous. The other staff began to whisper about him, claiming he never left his room, and rumors spread that he was involved in illegal activities. Seal tried to dismiss the gossip, but she felt a nagging discomfort whenever she walked past his suite. One day, after a month of isolation, Seal noticed something was off. The door to Mr. M's suite was slightly ajar. The usual sense of luxury and cleanliness had been replaced by a foul odor that made her stomach churn. Curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to take a peek inside. What she saw made her blood run cold. The room was in complete disarray, with furniture overturned and a thick layer of dust covering everything. In the center of the room, there was a small box on the floor. It was covered in a strange, sticky substance. Trembling, Seal approached it, her heart pounding in her chest. As she opened the box, a clump of hair soaked in blood was revealed. She stumbled back in horror, realizing that Mr. M had vanished without a trace. Her mind raced with thoughts of what could have happened to him. Panic set in as she ran to the front desk, only to find that he had used a fake identity. Days later, police swarmed the motel. They revealed that Mr. M was wanted for murder, having killed several victims in different states. Seal was left traumatized, haunted by the memory of the mysterious guest who had turned her world upside down. Story 2. The Unsettling Encounter. Driving down a desolate highway during a torrential storm, Sarah was desperate for shelter. Her windshield wipers struggled to keep pace with the downpour as she searched for a place to stay. Suddenly, she spotted a flickering neon sign that read, "Motel Vacancies." With no other options, she pulled into the parking lot of the rundown establishment. The motel looked worn, with peeling paint and an unsettling atmosphere. Despite her apprehensions, Sarah needed a place to rest. She stepped inside the dimly lit lobby, where a creepy clerk greeted her with a crooked smile. "Cash only," he said, his voice raspy and low. Sarah hesitated but handed over the money. The clerk handed her the key to room 7, his eyes lingering on her with an unsettling intensity. She made her way to the room, the old door creaking ominously as she entered. The space was filthy, with stained carpets and a musty odor that made her gag. Feeling uneasy, she decided it was better to sleep in her car than stay in the room. Hours passed as the storm raged outside, but Sarah felt a strange compulsion to peek through the motel window. To her horror, she saw the clerk and another man prowling around the parking lot, peering into the windows of the cars. Fear gripped her heart as she realized they were searching for her. In a panic, she grabbed her things and quietly opened her car door. She slipped into the driver's seat, praying they wouldn't notice her. The men's voices echoed outside, their conversations laced with malice. Sarah's heart raced as she prepared to drive away. Just as she was about to turn the key, the clerk's voice came through the window. "You can't hide from us," he taunted. Terrified, Sarah revved the engine and slammed the gas pedal, narrowly escaping the clutches of the creepy motel. The next morning, she saw a news article about the motel being shut down for human trafficking activities. Sarah felt a wave of relief and horror wash over her. She had narrowly escaped a fate worse than she could have imagined. Story 3: The Old Motel. After a long day of travel, Jason found himself tired and in need of a place to rest. He stumbled upon a decrepit motel that seemed to call to him from the side of the road. The building looked as though it had been abandoned for years, but a flickering neon sign still glowed above the entrance. Despite its eerie appearance, he checked in, feeling too exhausted to continue driving. The clerk, an old man with a crooked grin, handed him the key to room 5. Jason took the key, trying to shake off the chill that crept up his spine. As he entered the room, he was immediately struck by the musty smell. The wallpaper was peeling, and the bed looked as if it hadn't been made in months. Dismissing the discomfort, Jason plopped onto the bed, hoping to catch a few hours of sleep. But sleep didn't come easily. Strange noises echoed throughout the motel, making Jason's heart race. It sounded like whispers, but he couldn't make out the words. Hours passed, and the unsettling feeling grew stronger. Finally, he decided to leave the room and investigate. The hallways were dimly lit, and shadows danced along the walls. As he wandered, he noticed several closed doors, each adorned with rusted numbers. The whispers grew louder, urging him to turn back. But his curiosity drove him forward. He reached a door at the end of the hall that appeared to be slightly ajar. Peering inside, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The room was filled with old photographs of people, all of whom looked terrified. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him, trapping him inside. Panic set in as he frantically pulled at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers turned into screams, echoing in his ears as he banged on the door, begging to be let out. After what felt like an eternity, the door swung open. The old clerk stood there, his smile now menacing. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice low and ominous. Jason bolted past him, racing out of the motel and into the night. The next morning, he learned that the motel had a dark history, reports of disappearances and strange happenings that made it infamous. Jason realized he had narrowly escaped something sinister and vowed never to stop at a motel again.